right, we are live. Hey, how is it going? Lee Hayward here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Friday, May the 6th. And let me know if this is coming through loud and clear, if you can hear me, if you can see me, and all that good stuff. Let me know. Just a second. Now I'm just going to grab my glasses there, make it easier for me to read those video chat comments as they come through. All right, so if this is coming through loud and clear, test, right?
Test, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear Lee?
All right, we got Lee Dunnigan joining in. He says loud and clear. Good stuff, appreciate it. Who else we got joining in? As you tune in, type into the chat window there. Just say like who you are, your name, where you're from, and all that stuff. And let me know if this is your first time tuning into one of these live stream Q&A. If it is, welcome. Always nice to have new people tuning in. And if you're a regular, welcome back. Always nice to have the regulars tuning back. And hopefully the goal is to turn the new people into regulars. That's the whole purpose behind this. And what I'm going to be doing now over the course of this video chat is I'll be hanging out here for an hour-ish, right? I don't have a timer. I just kind of go for an hour, right? That's sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's shorter, but I go for an hour-ish, basically answering your questions regarding fitness, nutrition, how to build muscle, lose fat, any specific challenges with your workouts, any specific challenges with your nutrition plan, whatever it is that you want to talk about, fitness and nutrition related. Type those questions and topics of discussion into our chat window, and I'll do the best that I can to help you out over the course of our video chat. So let us see. Lee Dunnigan's joining in. We have Neil, Marvin, Robert, Victory, Bleak, Reality. First time joining in from India. Welcome. Glad to have you tuning in. What time is it over in India? Is it really late or really early or somewhere in between? Neil's joining in from the Philippines. Wow. I've got an international crew here. Dario's joining in. Welcome. I know Dario is a regular to the whole video chat. Nice to have you tuning back. And we have Mukand in India. If I'm mispronouncing your name, I do apologize, but it's 2:30 a.m. You should be in bed. I'm going to be in bed at 2:30 a.m. I can tell you that. Man, I can't stay up beyond midnight anymore. Heck, midnight's a late night for me these days, right? My clock is adjusted, right? Since I had Harvey and everything else, and now that he's going to school, like my sleep schedule follows his. Like a couple hours after he's in bed, like I'm in bed. Who else we got? Other guys joining in the wee hours of the morning. Man, we got a bunch of night owls tuning in. That's crazy. All right, but anyway, welcome. Glad to have you tuning in, regardless of where you're from. Awesome. So basically, again, how this works is I'll be answering any questions that you may have. So if you do have any questions or topics of discussion related to your workouts, type them into the comment section there, and I'll do the best that I can to answer them. And for those of you who are regulars joining in, you may notice that I haven't done the last couple video chats because I was traveling. I was actually down in Nashville, Tennessee, attending a fitness conference. And we stretched it out into a little family holiday, which was awesome because it was the first time that we had actually traveled since the start of the whole pandemic situation thing. And it's nice to finally be able to travel again. And we had an amazing time. I got to say, it was really nice. And I actually got to meet up with one of my long-term coaching students, Jeff Samatero. So if you've been following along with some of my videos, you notice myself and Jeff actually did a couple of videos together. And I've got a ton more video footage that we shot together. We shot some workouts. We shot some different videos just discussing the habits, the lifestyle, and the mindset that really goes into creating a lasting and sustainable fitness and fat loss transformation, because that's something that Jeff has really mastered. You know, he was struggling with his fitness before he came on board with the whole coaching program. He came on board with the Muscle After 40 program, even though he's technically not 40, right? He's in his late 30s, but he came on board anyway. Same principles apply. I mean, age is just a number. But he came on board, and we really helped him to optimize a sustainable fitness and nutrition program so that he's got himself in shape, but not just get in shape, but more importantly, how you can stay in shape and enjoy the process. And that's the hardest part for a lot of people. Because I know a lot of folks who can put on the blinders, right? Go hardcore into cutting mode and suffer it out for several weeks or several months at a time. Like prime example, competitive bodybuilders and anyone getting ready for a specific event. Maybe you got a photo shoot or some specific event that you're getting ready for. Like a lot of people, they put on the blinders. They say, I'm going low carb. I'm going keto. I'm going to fasting. I'm going to do some sort of extreme, crazy cutting diet. I'm going to do 2 hours of cardio a day plus weight training. I'm going to burn the candle at both ends and I'm going to suffer it out and get ripped. And I respect the drive. I respect the piss and vinegar and the gusto, if you will, of all that attitude. But that's not sustainable. You can't suffer it out for the rest of your life. Like nobody can. Who wants to suffer it out and feel miserable for the rest of their life so they can get lean? I mean, yeah, it works in the short term and it works amazingly well. Like if you eat nothing but boiled chicken and broccoli, you do 2 hours of cardio, you hit the gym 6 days a week, and you suffer it out. Yes, you're going to get ripped. I guarantee it. You will get as ripped can be, but you will hate the process. You will not enjoy it. Come over here. This is my wife here. She's teasing me behind the camera over there. If you want to go teasing me behind the camera, you got to do it on the camera. Oh, now that she's being shy. All right. She's not. Oh, all right, yeah. She came in my office here to get something, and then she started, making faces at me and on the other side of the camera. I should have flipped the computer. Look, she's doing it again. Oh yeah. If this thing wasn't plugged in, I'd go. Anyway, what was I talking about, guys? I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Shit. Oh, I was talking about suffering it out on cutting diets and how that's not sustainable. Yeah. So if you go on the whole boiled chicken, broccoli, and suffer it out approach, I mean, yes, you can get yourself in shape, but you can't sustain that long term. Like nobody wants to suffer it out for the rest of their life. In order to have a system in place where you get in shape and, more importantly, stay in shape, you have to enjoy the process. And that's what we really focus on in the Muscle After 40 Blueprint is how can you enjoy this and not feel like you're suffering. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of guys, get ripped in the short term. And then once their deadline is over, like let's say someone's dieting down for a bodybuilding competition or a photo shoot or a beach vacation, or someone wants to get in shape for their wedding or some short-term deadline. As soon as they hit their target, let's use a bodybuilder. I'm very familiar with bodybuilders because I've coached a lot of them over the years. They diet down and then they get in a peak shape for the competition. And as soon as the contest results are announced and the pictures are taken and the dust is settled, what do they all do? They go out for the big post-contest, binge meal. They go to some place, a pizza place or a restaurant or somewhere like that, and they have the big post-contest pig out. And that's where it starts. And then afterwards, they'll probably go out for breakfast the next morning, and they're slamming back pancakes and bacon and eggs and the whole works. And then they're going out to the ice cream shop, and then they're going out to the bakery, and then they're going whatever the junk food that they were craving in the months leading up to the contest. They're going to be binge eating on that in the weeks leading after the contest. And it took months to lose it, only a few weeks to gain it all back. And then they'd be back to square one, fatter than ever. And then trying to justify it by telling everybody that I'm bulking up because it's the off season, right? In reality, no, you just got fat because you couldn't stick to your hardcore cutting diet anymore. I mean, that's the reality. It ain't bulking up, it's getting fat. And I'm as guilty as anybody because that's exactly what I used to do as a bodybuilder. I did that for 17 years. I competed in bodybuilding. I've done competitive bodybuilding for 17 years, and every single time it's been that exact yo-yo diet, extreme cut, rebound, bulk up, balloon, weight gain afterwards. And it's a vicious cycle. So that whole approach of suffering it out to get in shape, it works, but it only works in the short term. So if you want to be in shape for longer than a few weeks or a few months or something like that, you want to be in shape for life, you have to take a different approach. It has to be something that's sustainable. And that's what we really go into in the whole Muscle After 40 program. And myself and Jeff Samatero, when we were in Nashville together, we made a whole bunch of videos talking about this and really going deep into the mindset and the psychology and the habits and the lifestyle that you need in order to achieve a lasting fitness and fat loss transformation so that you just don't get in shape, you stay in shape and enjoy it. And that's a big game changer. All right, so look forward to some of those coming soon. And like I said, I've got a ton of video footage. I just got to get around to editing it all. That's the problem. I've got so much video footage piled up. I got to just process it. So hopefully now over the next week, I'll be pumping out some more videos. So make sure to stay tuned for those. All right, I've rambled on long enough, so let's jump in. I know we got a lot of questions and topics coming through here, so let's take it away. Let's see. The first one is from Dario. How much weekly cardio do you reckon is necessary to get one's resting heart rate below 60 beats per minute? That's a loaded question, and there's so many variables. But let's break it down to something that we can. I can give you some practical advice on. How much cardio is necessary to improve one's resting heart rate? All right, let's focus on that, because I don't know what your current resting heart rate is and everything else, and what genetic issues you may have, and blah blah blah. So, right, let's just focus on how much do you need to do to improve. The most important thing when it comes to cardio, I think, is the consistency. And I would recommend daily cardio. Now, I'm going to clarify what I mean by daily cardio. I'm not talking about daily getting out and pounding the pavement and running sprints or jogging marathons or any of that stuff. I'm talking about daily activity where you're keeping your body moving at in endurance terms, it's zone 2. Now, I know most bodybuilders have no idea what the heck this means. I actually posted to my Facebook group the other day, talking about how I actually hit a new personal best VO2 max, and like most of my bodybuilder followers are like, "What the heck's a VO2 max?" So, like, fitness from the endurance world and the bodybuilding world are like chalk and cheese sometimes, because it's two different approaches. But to focus on with improving your resting heart rate and just your general cardiovascular fitness, moderate intensity cardio. So something that just is pushing you ever so slightly, but it's sustainable, right? That's what we want. Like brisk walking, like moderate intensity cycling, doing something where you're moving and you're able to sustain it for long periods of time without gasping, without gassing yourself out, like without pushing the limits. Because a lot of times people have the all or nothing approach. So if they do cardio, it's running on the treadmill. And for most people, running on the treadmill is way too high of intensity. You'd be much better off walking at a brisk pace, maybe at an incline, and just enough to elevate your heart rate, get it up to a moderate range. For most people, just kind of throw some numbers out there. If you're getting your heart rate up to around 120 beats a minute ish, thereabouts, that's probably somewhere good to be at. That maybe that or between 120, 130 beats per minute, and keep it there for a sustained period of time. And that's one of the best ways to focus on cardio for improving your overall base fitness. That's, if in the endurance terms, that would be your base miles, right? You're building up your base level of conditioning. Lay the base first before you worry about throwing in high intensity intervals and all that kind of stuff. Lay the base. And I would recommend daily cardio at that range, like getting your heart rate up to around 120 to maybe 130 beats per minute and sustaining it. Now, again, those numbers are going to vary because it depends on your individual heart rate. Like some people have very naturally low heart rates. Some people have naturally higher heart rates. And it's not good, bad, right, or wrong. It's almost just like, some cars have a rev over at a higher speed than others, right? Like a big muscle car is not going to rev over as fast as a small little 4-cylinder race car, right? They're different. So same with heart rate. Sometimes people naturally have higher or slower heart rates, but you need to focus on what's your individual range. And again, like this goes by like your max heart rate and all this kind of stuff. But you want to lay the base. And even something as simple as walking, like every single day, get out and go for a walk. And focus on just doing more than you're currently doing right now. And I'll give you a prime example. One thing that I used to do, especially when I was getting ready for bodybuilding shows. And so I didn't really think of it from a cardiovascular point of view. I used it as a fat burning tool, but it carried over to really laying a good foundation for me in terms of cardiovascular, was walking. And when I'd be dieting for bodybuilding shows, I would do a minimum of 1 hour of walking every day. Consistently, rain, shine, didn't matter. I just made sure to get in a minimum of an hour of walking. So if you made sure to get in a minimum of an hour of base cardio where you're not killing yourself, you're just laying that foundation, that would build the engine. That would build the engine on. And then once you have that engine built, so you do that for several weeks, lay the foundation, then you can start incorporating some more high intensity interval stuff, where you alternate like a low intensity cardio day with a high intensity interval day, maybe then another low intensity day, and then another high intensity day, and alternate it somehow in those types of structure. Like I'd never have 2 high intensity days back to back. I always have a high intensity, low intensity. And you heard me refer to this even when it comes to training in general as my yin and yang approach, like alternating the high intensity and the low intensity. Same applies with the cardio as well, right? You can alternate the low intensity base training and then the high intensity, VO2 max training where you're pushing the limits and you're gassing yourself out. Like those types of training, the polar opposites, that's some of the best ways to improve your overall cardiovascular fitness. But you can't do as much of the high intensity stuff as you can of the low intensity base work. You can do that more consistently, more frequently, without breaking your body down. It's actually quite rejuvenating. Like you get out and go for a walk, you don't feel beat up afterwards. You actually feel rejuvenated. It's active recovery, it's rejuvenation, but it's still building that base cardiovascular engine. So lower intensity stuff. And again, it doesn't always have to be walking. It could be cardio machines at the gym. It could be getting out for a bicycle ride. Whatever you have available. I mean, look in your own personal situation. I love cycling. That's my main form. But on top of that, I'll also walk, cardio machines at the gym. And that lays the foundation for my cardio workouts. But more often than not, it's cycling, just because I truly enjoy it. And speaking of cycling, I have a race that I'm going to be doing this weekend. On Sunday, I'm going to be doing a local road race. Now, I know I don't have a snowball's chance in hell of winning it, but I'm doing it for my own personal benefit, my own personal reasons. I'm hoping to hit a personal best this Sunday. So that's my goal and something that I've been really focusing on. And I competed last year at our provincial road racing championships. Got my ass kicked, but I did it. And I mean, so that was a victory in and of itself. So now I'm going to be doing another road race. And my goal is just to improve upon what I did before, right? Just personal progress. And basically, that's all you can do, personal progress. Because regardless of what it is you're trying to achieve, or regardless of how good you are, there's always going to be somebody better, and there's always going to be somebody worse. So why get hung up on trying to compare yourself to others when you can focus on the only thing that you can control is being better than you were before? All right, so that's Dario's question on cardio. Hopefully that answers it. If I didn't, feel free to reach out to me and send me a message or an email, and we can clarify it in more detail. And that applies to anybody tuning into this. If you want to reach out to me personally, my email address, I have it down in the video description below, or friend me up over on Facebook. Just do a search for Lee Hayward, and you'll find me over on Facebook. My profile picture is me doing a front double bicep pose, right? You'll see it there. Lee Hayward with a front double bicep. That's me. And friend me up, and we can chat through Facebook. We have Neil joining in. All right, saying, Lee, I notice that it's much easier to execute shoulder press with shoulder with bottoms up grip, pinky side higher than thumb. Is this good for the long run? Okay, let me unpack that question. It's easier to execute the shoulder press with a shoulder width, bottoms up, pinky side higher. I'm assuming this is a barbell shoulder press, and bottoms up grip. Bottoms up. I've never referred to grip as bottoms up. Do you mean bottoms up? Anyway, let me unpack this question and explain how I like to do shoulder presses, and hopefully this carries over to your question. When I'm doing a barbell shoulder press, I usually don't go very wide, because I find if I'm going very wide, this is my general rule of thumb for shoulder presses, is I like to keep my forearms in line, right? So when you're in that mid-range, like the forearms, I like to have them up and down. So I don't want to have them too close. That's like angled in. Forearms, that's too close. I don't want to have them angled out. That's too wide. I like to have them right here, try and have the forearms vertical in the bottom position. And how I adjust that is when I'm doing a barbell press.
Hello. I just came in here to talk a little bit about protein and building muscles.
Did Mom put you up to this, or did you come in on your own accord?
Mommy told me to come in here and interrupt.
Mommy told you to come in and interrupt. Okay, Mommy's it's Mother's Day this weekend, and Mommy's being a nuisance already. But that's cool. I don't mind. We're talking about doing shoulder presses. Do you know what a shoulder press is? Shoulder press. It's pressing from your shoulders. Can you show shoulder press? Shoulder press. Overhead press is another term.
Like a mommy.
Yeah, mommy's. Do you know shoulder presses? Here, you do one. Do shoulder press.
Isn't that right, mommy?
Shoulder press.
Like that.
There, just so you do it. Shoulder press. There you go. Now, can I coach you? Because this is one of the questions. Someone was asking about shoulder presses. So can I use you as my fitness model demonstration guy to coach this exercise? All right. Here. So sit up. And we're going to do... sit up, you silly goose. All right. We got to do a shoulder press. Here. That's too wide. That's too wide. We already talked about what's too wide. We want to have your forearms vertical, like there. So we want that vertical forearm. Okay. And what I normally do, I like to use...
Don't worry, I can still do it by making silly faces.
You can't. Look, Daddy's trying to do work here, and this is being this turned into a comedy show of anything. For the record, I actually have videos on YouTube showing how to do shoulder presses. So if you just do a search for Lee Hayward shoulder press or Lee Hayward military press, you'll hear exactly what I'm trying to say with less interruption. All right, I'm just going to haul to the door there. Just give me a second. Hang on. All right, Daddy's trying to do a video chat. I'll come out and play after. All right. If you have kids, you know what I'm going through. Shoulder press. I literally, I'm going to move on. All right. This is my answer. Do a search for Lee Hayward military press or Lee Hayward shoulder press. And I actually have video tutorials, me in the gym, taking you through this exercise and explaining exactly how to do it. So, but one thing I will acknowledge that I think will help you is I've gotten into doing my shoulder presses with a thumbless grip. I find that more comfortable. And I know some people say, well, isn't thumbless grip dangerous and everything else? It can be if you're doing a bench press, because with a bench press, if the barbell rolls out of your hand, you can't move, right? That barbell rolls out of your hand, it's going to hit your chest, and this is the suicide grip when it comes to bench press. With a shoulder press, it's not the same, because when I'm doing a shoulder press, if that starts to roll, I can just dump the weight. I mean, granted, it's going to crash on the floor and make a noise and everything else, but I'm not going to get trapped under it. So if for some reason it ever did start to roll with the thumbless grip, I can bail out. Whereas with the bench press, if you're lying on the bench, you can't bail out fast enough to get under a barbell that's dropping from, less than 2 feet, right? You're not getting off that bench in time. But with a standing shoulder press, you can literally just dump the bar and not have any issues other than barbell crashing to the floor. All right. But yeah, I find that a lot easier. And for the record, I've never ever had to bail out on a shoulder press. I've never ever had it roll out of my hand. But if for some reason it did, I would be able to do that. And I always do them in the power rack anyway, so that would catch the weight in those situations. All right, moving on. Let's see what else we got. Juan is joining in. Welcome, Juan. Is it good enough to work out 4 days a week with a whole body workout? All right, well, I'm going to unpack that one. 4 days a week is more than enough, right? I mean, 3 days a week is more than enough. And heck, if you had 2 days a week is enough. Like, you can make progress. It's surprising how little you can do and still make progress. But 4 days a week, I think, would be optimal. And in fact, you could make some amazing gains 4 days a week. Now, as far as 4 days a week total body, if you are going to do that, I would change it up. I wouldn't do the exact same total body workout 4 times. I would change it up. And this is how I like to do my own workouts. I usually do 3 total body workouts per week, and I change them up. So I usually pick 1, maybe 2 exercises per muscle group, especially for bigger muscles. And then I just go through that process of working the whole body. So and I usually focus on working everything in proportion. So I do like a push and a pull. So like horizontal push, horizontal pull, overhead push, overhead pull, leg extension, leg curl, arm extension, arm curl. Like I like to work both sides of the body, agonist and antagonist movement patterns. And then when I do my next total body workout, I'll use different exercises and still train those same muscle groups. So, for example, like one workout might be an overhead shoulder press. Next workout might be a dumbbell press. Next workout might be a shoulder press machine. When it comes to the chest, one workout might be a barbell bench press. Next workout might be maybe a dip. Next one could be like a dumbbell press. So I'm still working the same muscle, but I'm doing different exercises to hit those muscles. When it comes to the rows, one workout could be a barbell row. Next one could be a machine row, cable row, T-bar row, dumbbell row, whatever. Like I just change up the exercise variation. And that's how I go through my total body workout. So I do get a lot of exercise variety over the course of the week, but I'm still focusing on that total body model. And I actually come to enjoy that more than a body part split. Now, with that being said, sometimes I will go back to a body part split for just the sake of variety and changing it up. But for the last 2 to 3 years, I would say 80% of my workouts have been total body. And the reason why I like it is because, one, you get hit all your major muscle groups frequently. So if I get caught up with work or travel or whatever, even though I haven't had much travel in the last couple of years, but in a normal situation, like the shit hits the fan, life gets busy, and you can't hit the gym as often as you want. If you're doing total body, even if you only hit the gym once, well, at least you still hit all your major muscle groups, right? So you're not neglecting anything. Whereas if I was doing a body part split, chest day one day, back day the next, leg day the next, and stuff, if I only hit the gym once, okay, I worked my chest and I neglected everything else. Whereas if I had done a whole body, well, at least I did a little bit for everything. So I like that because even if you're not as consistent, you're still hitting all your major muscle groups. So that's why I like total body. And I also like the fact that you don't get that deep muscle soreness. Because if you just do one exercise per movement pattern, you usually don't get really sore afterwards. Whereas if I go in there and annihilate chest with 20 sets for chest and then 20 sets for back and 20 sets for legs and everything else, you're painfully sore the next day. So you get that delayed onset muscle soreness. Whereas with the total body workouts, you're just doing a little bit for each muscle group, and you can usually recover from a little bit more frequently. So you get that training stimulus, but you don't get the pain, you don't get the soreness, and also don't get the repetitive joint and tendon and ligament strain as well. So since I've switched to doing total body workouts this way, knock on wood, I haven't had any joint pain, any tendon or ligament pain or any of that stuff. Whereas back when I used to do a lot of body part split workouts, I used to have like, oh, my shoulders are killing me. Oh, my elbows are hurting. Oh, I get the tendonitis flaring up again and all that kind of stuff. Whereas doing these total body workouts and working everything in balance and proportion where agonist and antagonist movements, thankfully, I've been able to remain relatively healthy and mobile in terms of injury prevention and stuff like that. So I really like it from that point of view. But back to your question, Juan. 4 days a week is certainly good enough. That's actually not more than good enough. That will be optimal training frequency. And how I'd recommend you split it up, no more than 2 days on before taking a day off. All right, you want to have those rest days built in there, if possible, right? I mean, I know everybody's schedule is a bit weird, but ideally something like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday off, and then repeat. That would be an ideal 4-day split, or just every other day. You could do it that way as well. All righty, we have Azim joining in, and Azim is a regular to our chats. Second, guys, I'm gonna have a drink here. Having a sugar-free energy drink. I don't drink many of these, but I felt I needed one today. So this is like a treat for me. A sugar-free Monster. Got to get myself caffeinated and motivated. Zim says, I've been away, really busy with work, but I'm back and I'll try to shred during this summer. Which program of yours should I use? Because I've been away for so long. All right. I kind of addressed this to a certain degree at the start. I'm not a fan of going on a hardcore summer shred, right? I mean, yes, it works, but you got to think bigger. Like, do you just want to be in shape for the summer, or do you want to be in shape for the long term? Like, if you got something special coming up, that is a short-term thing, and then after that's said and done, you really don't care what you look like, then yeah, by all means, go on a summer shred, or go on a shred, if you will. Prime example, like a bodybuilder getting cut for a contest, and they don't care what they look like after the contest. A movie actor getting cut for a movie role, and they don't care what they look like after the movie role. Or someone who wants to get in shape for their wedding, and then once they're married, they don't care what they look like after they're married. If you have those short-term goals, which, there's a time and a place for short-term goals. Don't get me wrong, there are. But if that's what you're looking for, then yeah, a short-term extreme approach works. But if your goal is to get in shape and stay in shape and have a lean, healthy lifestyle and not going through the yo-yo up and down all the time, then you need a different approach. And I don't, like with my coaching students, we don't cut, we don't bulk, we don't do any of that. We focus on body recomposition and just being good enough, but good enough consistently year round. So there's no, oh, I'm in shredding phase, I'm in bulking phase, I'm in this phase, I'm in that phase. Oh, no, we're always in just get a little bit better every day phase, a 1% better each day phase. That's what we focus on, just marginal gains and taking baby steps in the right direction. And if you screw up, who cares? Get back on track again. It's a different mindset. It's like from the hardcore bodybuilding approach to the approach we use, like it's like night and day in difference. But once you adopt it and start following it, it's whoa, this is so much easier. This is so much simpler. We don't need to overcomplicate and overthink things. We just need to be good enough, but good enough consistently, and we can get results and make it work. So if you would like some help with that, right? You're looking for a sustainable fat loss program, then the Muscle After 40 program is exactly what you need if that's what you're going through. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to reach out to me. Again, email address down below. I even have a link there where you can book in for a free strategy session call where we'll jump on a Zoom call or a like Facebook audio call or Skype or something along those lines. We'll have a chat and basically do a fitness and nutrition audit of you, your current situation, what it is you're doing, and see like where can you improve and see if we can map out a realistic action plan for you and if you'd be a good fit for coming on board with our whole Muscle After 40 team that we have. So if that's something you're interested in, reach out. Again, details down in the description below. Jose is joining in. Let's see. The chat shows April 15th instead of May 7th. Did I screw that up? I might have. I'll edit it in the post stream edit. I might think I might have done, and I actually, now that you mentioned this, I think I just copied the description stuff from my previous chat, and I forgot to edit the title. There you go. Full transparency. I literally just copied and pasted the description information because it's basically the same core description, and I might have copied the title from last week's chat to this one, and then when I went to hit live, I forgot to edit the date before I hit the live button. But for those of you watching, we're doing this on May 6th, right? Regardless of what the title says, so I'll fix that in the post edit stuff. Yeah, details. There's water under the bridge. Never mind. We're here. But thanks for letting me know that. I had no idea because I can't see it from your end. I'm just seeing it from the streaming end. Okay, it says, hi, welcome back. How are you? I'm doing fantastic. All right, trying to get through, but yeah, doing good. Living the dream. I just finished working out. Question: what do you recommend for thoracic back mobility? My back is tight. The simple answer is yoga. That's my simple answer. There's a lot of follow-along yoga videos on YouTube that you can do, and a lot of that stuff will really help with your overall flexibility, mobility, and it's a very complementary form of exercise to strength training and cardio. Like most bodybuilder and fitness people, strength training, cardio training, and flexibility training is blah, like something you throw in if you have time. It's like, it's not given the importance that it needs until it becomes an issue, until you have some aches, pains, mobility issues where you need to prioritize it. But if everything is feeling reasonably good, flexibility is very often not prioritized with most people. And this is a common trend that I see. I'm a little bit guilty of this myself, but I try to keep it in there. Like one of the things I do is after every workout, I take a few minutes to stretch out the muscles that I just trained. And it doesn't have to be crazy long, like 5 to 10 minutes after a workout to stretch out the muscles. And I actually have a full stretching playlist up on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. If you just open up the playlist tabs, it's an older playlist, but the stretches are still just as good. I mean, even though the playlist is probably 10 years old, the stretches work just as well today. It's not like the human body has evolved over the last 10 years that stretches that worked 10 years ago don't work today. So again, check that one out because it covers like back stretches and leg stretches and arm stretches and chest stretches and shoulder stretches. So basically all your major muscle groups. It shows some of the best stretches that you can do after you train those muscle groups. You can do them in the gym right there with just basic gym equipment, right? That you can use to stretch out all your major muscle groups. That's one thing I would definitely recommend. But another good addition, whether you do it like on the same day you train or maybe on your off days, like on your rest days, this would be good active recovery, would be yoga. And again, there's a lot of follow along yoga videos. Actually, I've made a little video talking about my experience with this. If you do a search for Lee Hayward, yoga for bodybuilders, you'll see that video pop up in YouTube search. And I go into my experience of when I started to incorporate that on a regular basis and my experience with it, but something that I still do today. And there's a ton of channels out there. And one of the things I find with most yoga channels is a lot of them are too advanced, especially if you're not, you don't have a foundation in yoga. A lot of the channels are too advanced. So you want to find something like yoga for beginners, right? Just kind of ease your way into it. And one channel that I found really helpful, it's Yoga with Adriene. I think she's got the biggest yoga channel on YouTube because when I typed it in, it was like one of the first ones that popped up. But she's got a ton of follow along workouts. So you literally just pop it up on whether that's on your computer. In my case, I go down in my living room in the basement and put it up on the big screen TV, right? And just watch it through there. So it's like I got my own little private yoga studio, if you will, and I do it there. But Yoga with Adriene is her name. And the thing I like about it is she takes you through the exercises and doesn't make you feel like an idiot if you can't do them. Like she shows like, okay, here's what I want you to do. And if that's too hard, here's a nice little beginner's variation that you can do. And it's like, she's talking to you as if you're a beginner, which again, most people are, which is nice. And I find that it's very easy and not easy. That's the wrong word, but it's the right amount of intensity, meaning like I'm doing the poses, I'm following along, doing my best. And as soon as it starts to get hard, I'm like, man, oh man, this is challenging. I feel like I'm going to quit. And she's like, okay, now we'll switch. Like, oh, good. It's like, I don't know. It's like perfectly timed almost, like, because she knows when you're doing the poses and stuff, like, okay, it's going to get hard at about this point. And then as soon as it starts like, oh shit, I can't do this anymore. And we'll switch to another pose. And like, oh, okay, this is good. But I found her videos to be very helpful. And she's got a whole bunch of like series, like playlists. So again, I'm not sponsored. I don't know the person personally or anything like that. I just, giving her a shout out because I found her videos helpful for me. And I think you'd find those helpful for you. But that would definitely help with your whole mobility and of course with your back as well. What else we got there? So I saw your post on Facebook about improving your VO2 max. I mentioned that because I'm using a Fitbit, but I'm going to buy the Wahoo chest strap to compare it. I know I'm doing right now. I'm doing 3 full body workouts, and in between, I'm running for 10 minutes and 10 walking in the afternoon. I walked with my wife for an hour and going to monitor my recovery with the chest monitor. One last question. Which app do you recommend to sync with the chest monitor? All right. I'm using a Garmin. So I know you're looking for a Wahoo. I mean, all these companies, Wahoo, Garmin, they've all got their own apps. And again, I'm not the best person to say like this one's better, that one's better. They all have pros and cons. Right. Well, I'm using a Garmin Edge 530 is what it's called. I actually don't have it here with me. It's still on my bike. It's a little bike computer actually. And it syncs up the heart rate monitor. It syncs up the power meter on my bike, all that stuff. And of course you plug in your age, your height, your weight, and this and that. And it tracks your actual exercise performance. So like when you start using it initially, there's no data there. It doesn't tell you anything. But as it tracks your workouts, it'll let you know, okay, if you're productive and if you're making progress, or if you're not productive and you're, plateauing, or if you're even losing progress. Like it tracks your physical output over time. And then when you use it over time, it can tell you if things are progressing or not. And it even gives you training suggestions, like whether you should up your intensity or not. So it's pretty cool. But I'm using a Garmin. I'm not using a Wahoo. And the Garmin has it's called Garmin Connect. And it's when you buy the product, like all this stuff is in the literature with the product, and I just literally followed along with it. And for the record, Garmin has some pretty good customer support as well, because I had some issues syncing up some of the stuff with my bike, and I got on their live chat, and within a few minutes of the live chat, they had me sorted out. And I wish I had went to the freaking live chat first, because I started Googling, like, how do I sync this? How do I sync that? And blah, blah, blah. And I was going freaking wasting my time, like over an hour on Google trying to find crap through message boards and forums and all that kind of jibber jabber. And I said, fine. I said, screw it. I'm going to just go to Garmin's website, which I should have done all along. And they have a live chat feature there. And literally I started typing in my problems, and I got ready to have a big old rant, like, this sucks. And then within like 60 seconds, they said, oh, did you try doing it this way? And blah, 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 blah. And I said, no. And say, okay, well, try doing it that way and let me know. And I tried it that way, and boom, sure enough, it synced up and worked. So good customer support. That's all I'm saying. So I recommend the Garmin. That's what I use personally. But if you want to go with the Wahoo, I'm sure they're just as good. I know. Yeah, it's kind of like Chevy or Ford, right? Like they're still good. But anyway, that's how I monitored my VO2 max. That's one of the features in the Garmin Connect app. It tracks that along with a whole bunch of other stats. Moving on, we have John Shadow. He says, Lee, do you believe in refeeds to break plateaus? What's your best advice for a weight loss plateau? All right, that's a loaded question, because it really depends on the situation. It really depends on the plateau and everything else. In the case of I'll use bodybuilders as an example, because I like using that, because I know for the most part, if you're dealing with a motivated, competitive bodybuilder, in the short term, while they're in their extreme hardcore cut, they're pretty much going to do whatever you tell them to do. So, I mean, you can rely on it, right? Some people. Now, I mean, some people are very haphazard and they're full of shit, and they'll say they're doing something when they're not doing it, and they're cheating on their diet when they're not. They'll say they're eating clean when they're actually cheating on their diet and all that. But some people, I've had some coaching students who are legitimately strict and legitimately honest when it comes to going through a program. And if they do something, they'll tell you. And I know I had one coaching student, this was a while back, Joe, who was getting ready for his first bodybuilding show. And he was like a machine, like clockwork. Like I knew every day he was doing his training. Every day he was doing his cardio, and he was sticking to his meal plan. Like it was just boom, boom, boom. He was like a robot. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying that in a good way. He was very reliable, very consistent. And he was following his plan, and he went for a few weeks, like not making any progress. The weight was just stagnant. And he was doing 2 hours of cardio a day. He was doing his weight training. He was eating his boiled chicken and broccoli. Like he was going through the whole hardcore cutting diet approach, and it just wasn't working for him. And, you know, we kind of did the whole diagnostic approach. Like, okay, are you really doing 2 hours of cardio every day? Yes, I'm really doing it. Are you really sticking to your diet? Yes, I'm really sticking to my diet. Are you really working out? Yeah, I'm really working out. You know, all the big things. Like, and are you getting adequate sleep? And are you doing all this? And once we figured out, okay, he's really doing everything he says he's doing, and he's still stuck in a plateau. In that situation, I said, all right, let's do a little back off, like a deload / refeed. And all it was for his refeed, as I said, just come out of a calorie deficit, you know, just go into a very slight surplus. And when I say slight surplus, I'm talking about maybe like a couple hundred calories. So he was still eating the same foods, but he just bumped up his portion of carbohydrate foods, and he took himself out of a calorie deficit. So instead of being in a deficit, he was in a very slight surplus. Actually, in Joe's case, it was a bit more it was more significant surplus. I think I had him in a 500 calorie surplus for a week. He had lots of time to get ready for his show. He was in the middle of his prep. So for a week, I said 500 calorie surplus, but eat the exact same foods. You know, he's still in your natural unprocessed foods, you know, your good quality proteins, your vegetables, your complex carbs, all that. Like, don't go, oh, I'm on a refeed, so let's go out for pizza, or none of that BS. Like, still stick to the same foods. We're just going to literally bump up the portion of carbohydrates. And we had him scale back the cardio. So for a full week, instead of doing the 2 hours of cardio, I said, like, you know, just go for a gentle little walk. Maybe do 30 minutes of cardio, of easy walking per day, instead of 2 hours of busting your ass in the gym doing cardio. And scale back the weight training. So instead of working out 6 days a week, he just kind of did a little circuit routine, 30 minutes on his off days, or every other day. So 3 days a week, So he literally like slashed the workout volume down drastically, like less than half, bumped up his calories so that no longer in a deficit, but in a slight surplus, and just let his body deload and rest that week. So, I mean, after that week, I mean, he did put on a few pounds because, I mean, his glycogen filled out and he gained some water weight and everything else. But then after that week, I said, all right, now let's go back to your old approach. Bump up the cardio again, put yourself back into a slight calorie deficit, and go back to the way you were. And as soon as he did that, boom, he hit a new personal best. So sometimes you do need to like take one step back in order to take two steps forward. You will see that when it comes to fat loss. Now, in the real world, most people don't need to do that because they're already doing it anyway through cheat meals or not sticking to their diet. So that's why I'm using this analogy, because most people, when they say they hit a plateau, like, and I start doing a deep dive, like they're not sticking to a freaking diet plan anyway, right? Because I mean, they'll stick to a diet for a few weeks, and then on the weekend they'll say, "Oh, screw it. Well, we went out for pizza on Friday night, and then well, because I went out for pizza Friday night, I figured I blew it, so I said I'll start again on Monday. So then I ate like shit on Saturday, and I ate like shit on Sunday, and then I'm going to start my diet again on Monday. But I don't know. I'm in a plateau. I don't know why I'm not losing weight. It's because you're not consistent, right? You diet for a few weeks and then you binge, or a few days and then you binge, and then you diet for a few days and you binge. Like, that's not consistent. If that's your source of a fat loss plateau, well, you just need to be good enough and good enough consistently. That's the problem. But if you're truly in a strict deficit, you're not like on and off with the workouts. Like, oh, I worked out 3 days this week and I only worked out 1 day last week and this and that. And, I'll get back to it and I'll start again on Monday, right? I've been really busy, right? Mother's Day is coming up and now I had to work overtime at work and, busy, right? If you're all this crap that you're not consistent, you're haphazard with the workouts and you diet for a day and binge for a day, and that's not a weight loss plateau. That's just a consistency problem. But if it's truly a weight loss plateau where you're doing everything right, bang on to the letter, and you're doing that week after week after week after week, not just for a few days, but consistently, then we can look into, refeeds and stuff like that. But for 90 plus % of the people out there, they don't need refeeds because they're getting them through cheating on their diet anyway. So you really need to do a deep dive with that. And that's why I wanted to share that story about Joe and real people, because, it depends on the individual and the situation, right? The cause of the plateau. So bottom line for you, John, if you want to unpack this even more, feel free to reach out to me, right? Like, we can chat through email, or we can have a strategy session call and just kind of do a deep dive, a fitness and nutrition audit of what it is that you're doing, how it's working, and see if we can come up with some strategies on how you can optimize your progress and move in the right direction. So if that's something you're interested in, again, check out the description down below. We can have a chat. All right, moving on. We have Super Vitilla. Lee, I was reading your blog about 8 years ago, and it really helped me back in the day. Thanks for that. Awesome. So we got a long-term follower. Well, semi-long-term. Like, I've been doing this so long, like 8 years ago, it doesn't really seem that long to me. I started my first website back in 97, but that's moderately long, if you will. But yeah, I appreciate the support and glad that you found the information and content helpful. We have the experiment. He says, Coach, what do you recommend if I can't improve my pull-ups despite trying everything? I can't get beyond 4 or 5 reps in the first set. At best, I tried assisted pull-ups and still the same. Multiple sets of low reps is the secret to getting better at pull-ups. So don't grab the pull-up bar and rep out to failure. Like, okay, you can do 5 reps on a good day. So you grab the pull-up bar and you strain yourself to get your 5 reps, and then you're pooped. Like, that's all you can do, right? You've just drained the tank, and now your pull-up strength and your strength for that is shot. You'd be much better off just go to the pull-up bar and do like 1 or 2 reps. Stop. Rest, and then go do another 1 or 2 reps. Stop. Rest. Another 1 or 2 reps. Stop. Rest. And you'll be amazed. If you're stopping your sets short of failure, you can get multiple sets of low reps like that and get more total pull-ups done over the course of your workout. And in fact, how I recommend it, and I've shared this with a lot of my coaching students, is instead of doing all your pull-ups in straight sets, meaning like just staying at the pull-up bar and just set after set after set after set, space it out. Space it out over the course of your workout, and you'll be amazed at how many more pull-ups you'll be able to get done. So start off with 2 pull-ups, right? So when you're warmed up and everything else, you're ready to go over to the pull-up bar, just do 2 pull-ups, stop, and then do your first exercise, whatever that is. If you're doing a total body workout, then do a total body workout. If it's back day, then whatever, do your first back exercise, your deadlifts, your rows, whatever it is. And then after you do that exercise, go back to the pull-up bar, just bang out another 2 pull-ups, and then do your next exercise. And then in between each exercise, walk over to the pull-up bar and just do 2 pull-ups. And over the course of the workout, let's just say you did that 5 times. Well, over the course of the workout, if you did 5 sets of 2, you just got 10 pull-ups done. So if you're normally crapping out at 4 or 5 pull-ups in a single go, well, now you've just literally doubled your volume. Now you've done 10 pull-ups over the course of the workout. And then what you do is you just build on that. You keep that consistency going. And then eventually you'll probably be able to bang out like sets of 3 reps, and then you probably do 5 sets of 3. Now you're getting 15 total pull-ups. And then eventually you're getting 4 reps. Now you're doing, 5 sets of 4 and you're getting 20 total pull-ups. And you'll think of the total volume of pull-ups, not going to the pull-up bar and ripping up to failure. But every now and then, like after you've been doing that for say like 6 to 8 weeks, then you can go and do a retest and warm up and then literally rep out to failure and see how many pull-ups you can do. And I bet after 6 to 8 weeks of going through this multiple sets of low reps, stopping short of failure, you'll hit a new personal best. You'll smash past 5 reps easily, right? And that's what you want to focus on, is the total volume of reps that you're getting in the workout, not just doing a set to failure, because a set to failure is very limiting. I mean, yes, it's nice to test your limits and see what it is, but you can't push beyond that. Whereas if you're stopping short of failure, you can get way more volume done. And not only are you getting more volume done, you're building all the connective tissue. You're building in the motor skills and the pattern of doing the pull-ups. And where you're doing them, stopping short of failure, you're doing them with better form and better technique. Because when you're grinding out that last rep to failure, your technique is shit, right? You're not firing optimally. You're just struggling, and it's almost in survival mode, just trying to get your chin over the bar. That's all it is. Like the technique is out the window. Whereas those first couple reps, when you're fresh, the technique is good. So you're kind of reprogramming good technique and proper motor skills and all that. And that's kind of will carry over into improving not only your form and your technique, but the strength and the movement pattern. And it also help to improve your overall strength and volume. So that's my secret for pull-ups. Multiple sets of low reps, stopping short of failure, and space them out over the course of your workout and do it consistently. I mean, it doesn't always have to be just back day. You can try to throw this in. If you can, start off with maybe twice a week, like, space it out a few days apart, but then you can probably even build it up more frequently. Maybe do this 3 times a week. And if you can, even more, but try and get that frequency in there and consistency, and you'll see how your pull-up strength will improve. Moving on. What else we got there? We have Coach Martin from the Golden Boxing Performance. Good evening from the UK. Welcome, Coach Martin. Must be getting late over in the UK. It's kind of getting late here, but really late over there on the other side of the pond. And we have AT joining in. He says, me, a caffeine addict, what pre-workout do you recommend that can work in my case? All right, if you are a caffeine addict, and again, I don't know what your definition of a caffeine addict is, you may need to start to taper that down, because caffeine is like a double-edged sword. It's helpful in moderation, but you can easily overdo it. And I'll share my experience with it. My pre-workout of choice is usually coffee. And I try and minimize it and save it for when I need it. So I usually, have a cup of coffee in the morning, maybe 2, and then go to the gym. And then maybe midday, I'll have another coffee or source of caffeine. So in my case today, I literally had 2 cups of coffee, did my workout this morning at the gym. And then I didn't have any more caffeine until I'm having an energy drink right now, this one has 160 milligrams of caffeine, which is quite high, but by pre-workout standards, that's like as weak as low grade in it there. Because I've seen pre-workouts have 3 and 4 and 500 milligrams of caffeine, which is just astronomical. Some of them is insane. But that's what I usually do. Like for me, 2 to 3 caffeinated drinks a day max. That's my limit. And if I go beyond that, then it's overkill, and I find that I can't sustain it, because I used to be a caffeine addict myself. Like I used to be pounding coffee, pounding pre-workout and all that kind of stuff, especially when I was getting ready for bodybuilding shows back in the day, because I was just kind of like running on willpower and caffeine to get through the day, right? Like that's not a healthy way to live. Because what happens with caffeine is, yeah, it gives you the energy in the short term, but then eventually you just need it to have maintenance. And even though you're consuming a ton of caffeine, it's not like giving you more energy. It's just bringing you up to maintenance where I need this much to function now. So it's not even an energy boost anymore. It's just, it's just maintenance level. And I've even seen guys consuming over 1,000 milligrams of caffeine to just get through their day. Like that's not even energy anymore. It's just, I need this just to function. So if you're a caffeine addict and you're really, relying heavily on it, you might want to go through a caffeine detox. I've done it before. It's hard. It's brutally hard. But I had to go through one a while back to get myself off it. And I went a full month not drinking anything stronger than a green tea. That was what I swapped coffee and caffeine with. It was green tea. Now, for the record, green tea still has some caffeine, but it's much, much lower than coffee. So it wasn't a full-on, zero caffeine, but it was drastically reduced, like, a tenth of the caffeine, if you will. And I did that for a month. And when I was going through it, like the first week, I felt like shit. I had headaches. I felt lethargic. I had withdrawal symptoms from it. I mean, it was torture. But gradually I started to feel better. Gradually I started to function better. And then by the time I got through, the month, I was feeling more normal again. And then, I actually enjoy, a cup of coffee, and I enjoy the experience of going out for coffee and stuff like that. So I did want to make that a part of my lifestyle again, because I enjoy it. And then as I gradually added it back in, I did so in moderation. So now like 2 coffees, 3 at max is my daily limit. Whereas before I'd probably have 3 coffees with breakfast. Like it was crazy. And then I'd have, a couple more, through midday, and then a couple more in the evening. I mean, I was drinking coffee throughout the day before, which was crazy. Whereas now I really limit myself to the caffeine. And I find if you keep the threshold down, it can maintain its effectiveness without becoming problematic. So you want to be careful with that. And as far as pre-workouts, honestly, most of them are overkill. My pre-workout of choice is literally a cup of black coffee, maybe 2. If that's my limit for caffeine pre-workout is a cup of coffee or 2 cups if I really need something. Because I find that most pre-workouts are just overkill. Like a typical cup of coffee, especially like I make my own coffee at home, so I have more control over it. If you're going like Starbucks and you're getting these grande ventes or whatever, like these massive, like that's not a cup of coffee. Like that's a half a pot. That's off the charts. I'm talking about like real cups of coffee, or right, at home. So my 2 cups of coffee is probably still less than one of the Starbucks coffees that you would buy, right? But anyway, like you want to be careful with that, because again, it can just be too much. And again, the pre-workouts, I've seen a lot of them 300+ milligrams of caffeine, right? So I mean, it's just way overkill. So I'm not a fan of pre-workouts. Yes, they work in the short term, but they quickly become too much, and they can stress your adrenal glands. And then you get to the point where now you just need that to function at maintenance. So if you are going to use a pre-workout, save it for when you need it. Like don't use it every workout, because it loses its effectiveness, because you're overkill. You're using it too much. Save it for those times when you really need it. So for example, like if you're an athlete and you want to perform good for a game, okay, save it for the game. Now test it beforehand, make sure it's okay, but like save it for when you need that extra oomph, when you need to give it 110%, so to speak. Like in my case, okay, I'm going to be doing a bicycle race on Sunday. So I want to get the most out of myself on Sunday. Depending on how I'm feeling, I may resort to a pre-workout. Now, if I have my cup of coffee in the morning and I'm feeling good, then that'll be fine. But I have in the past, when I've done bicycle races, took a pre-workout beforehand just to give me that little extra oomph, right? Especially if I didn't sleep well the night before or something like that. So, I mean, I may or may not use it. I haven't really decided yet. It depends how I'm feeling the day of the race. But if I, like I say, I'm saving it for when I need it. That special occasion where I'm just going to use it this one time to get the most out of myself, but I'm not going to abuse it by using it day in, day out, every single workout, every single training session. Because when you use it excessively like that, it loses its effectiveness. And then it becomes, I just need that now to just get through the day, get through the workout, right? It's not an energy booster anymore. It's just an energy maintainer. And you don't want to have that happen. You don't want to become desensitized to caffeine. All right, what else we got there? I'm going to get ready to clue this up because we're already at the hour marks. But there's a couple more questions I want to answer before we do clue it up. Neil says, coming from my old folks here in our area, they said that it is bad to take a bath after working out in the gym. Heart attack, spasm, your thoughts? I take a warm bath after a workout. All right. I've never heard that. All right. And I guess I can see the logic behind it. Like, if you just totally exerted yourself and your heart rate is racing and you jump into a hot bath, which right immediately after, I mean, maybe it places extra strain. I mean, again, I've never done any research or reading into that. I think it's kind of more of old wives' tale myths, but you don't need to jumping. You don't need to be in a too mad of a hurry to get a cleanup after your your workout. In my case, this is how I usually do it. Like, I'll work out at the gym. I usually take a dry t-shirt because I usually sweat up the t-shirt I'm wearing. So like after my workout at the gym, I'll put on a dry t-shirt and stuff, and then I'll drive home, and I'll have something to drink and rehydrate myself, and maybe if I'm hungry, I'll have my pre-workout meal right away, and then I go get cleaned up afterwards. So there's a bit of a gap, like my heart rate and body gets a chance to relax and kind of come back down to normal before I'm getting my shower afterwards. But if you're going right from high intensity training, heart pumping, max effort, everything else, to jumping in a hot sauna or a hot bath or a hot something, yeah, I could kind of see where they're coming from. It might be extra stress, but to the point where it would be dangerous, I mean, you'd probably have to have some pre-existing heart issues for that to be an issue at all. Because I even know guys at the gym, we've got a sauna at one of the gyms, and I mean, it's guys, like, a lot where I use the sauna, if it's really cold, especially in the wintertime, and I just feel the cold in my bones, I'll get in the sauna before my workout and use it as a pre-workout warm-up, right? So I'm warming up in the sauna to get some heat into my system before I go out onto the gym floor and work out. So I'll actually sometimes use the sauna as a warm-up if it's really cold out. I did that several times in the winter. But I rarely use it post-workout. I mean, I know some people do, and if you do, so be it. There's nothing wrong with it. But again, I've never ever heard of anybody having any serious issues from that. Okay? The big thing is to make sure you stay hydrated. I think would be the biggest issue. Like if you're dehydrated from your workout, and then you were to get into a hot bath or a hot sauna or something like that, and you don't rehydrate yourself, that's where I think issues could come in. But if you make sure you're rehydrated, I really don't think there would be an issue there. But anyway, thanks for sharing that. Again, I don't have any solid answers. I'm just kind of sharing some rambling thoughts because that's all I have. But I've never actually researched into that before. J.E. is asking, have you ever heard of John Grimek? Yes, I have. A legend in the bodybuilding world. He used to have some articles in the old Muscle magazines. I used to read a lot of them, especially Muscle Mag had the whole article section there of John Grimek back in the day. Of course, Muscle Mag is no longer, and a lot of those guys have since passed on. But yes, I've heard of John Grimek, and he says, have you heard of him and his training styles? Yeah, I've read a lot of his articles back in the day. And I got to say, I really enjoyed a lot of the old school stuff, right? Reading how they did things back in the day. I mean, some of it was interesting. Some of it was certainly applicable, but, I didn't always agree with everything. I kind of take the Bruce Lee approach when it comes to absorbing workout knowledge, whether it's old school or current or whatever. You absorb what's useful, you discard what's useless, and add what's uniquely your own. Right? That's a quote from Bruce Lee. That's how I usually approach it. All right, Neil saying, I remember you talking about your pre-workout of sea salt and cream of tartar. Yes, that, and you know what? I still do that. I mean, instead of the sometimes I'll take a potassium pill, or I'll have some sort of other potassium. And another one that I've added to that as well is magnesium. So usually for pre-workout, what I will do, in addition, this is beyond caffeine or stimulant based. This is kind of just electrolyte and mineral based. I'll take sodium, potassium, and magnesium beforehand to make sure that all those are in the body, because that's the stuff that you're really sweating out a lot when you're in the gym. Like, you're losing a lot of sodium, you're losing potassium, you're losing magnesium. So I'll make sure to supplement those beforehand. And the salt is usually, or the sodium, I should say, is usually just salt, whether it's table salt, sea salt, whatever. I mean, just salt is salt. Very often I will sprinkle some into my water bottle. You know, if I need to, I'll put it on a teaspoon, like a few shakes on a spoon, and have it that way and just chase it down with water. Potassium, you can either get like potassium supplements, capsules. I mean, they're pretty cheap and available at most supplement stores, or even you should be able to even get them in the vitamin section at your local grocery store or drugstore, just little potassium pills. Magnesium, I usually get good quality magnesium. That's, high absorbing magnesium is what I prefer. But that would really make a difference, because a lot of times if you're feeling weak or you're getting muscle cramps and stuff like that, people think, well, maybe it's because I'm depleted because I'm dieting or something like that, when a lot of times it's an electrolyte imbalance. So making sure you got adequate sodium, potassium, magnesium in your system, not only does it help to keep that electrolyte balance in check, but it'll also help to improve your strength and energy as well. Sometimes a lot of the fatigue and flatness that people feel when they're dieting, it's actually low sodium and low electrolytes, and you're literally deflating your muscles, because sodium, is like the key one, right? That helps to regulate water. So, if you don't have enough sodium in your system, your muscles literally feel flat and depleted, whereas the sodium can help to draw water and hydration into the cells, have a cell volumizing effect, right? And actually make you feel stronger. And a lot of times when people go on a diet, they avoid processed foods, which are naturally high in sodium. And now they're eating unprocessed foods, which are low in sodium. So you need to replace that sodium. Like, you just can't function without it. Like, sodium is critical. You need to have it. So adding extra salt to your food is one of the big things. I do it like every meal. I usually just add salt to taste. And then before my workouts, I will add the sodium there from either sea salt or table salt or whatever, along with the potassium and the magnesium. And it does make a significant difference. So especially if you're cramping up, definitely you need to get more sodium in your system, especially before training. All right, gentlemen, hopefully you found this video chat helpful. I enjoyed doing it, even though I know we had a few interruptions and a few hiccups, and I got the date wrong on the title. So despite all that, I think it went pretty well. Despite the problems, we still had a successful chat nonetheless. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have I'm going to get my assistant to do up the replay of this, meaning all the questions and topics and everything that we discussed, along with the timestamps. We're going to get that all organized, and over the next 48 hours, we'll get that posted up in the description. And if you want to watch any of the other previous live video chats, the cool thing is all of them have all the questions and topics timestamped. So instead of having to listen through another hour of chat, unless you really enjoy listening through an hour of chat, if you just want to jump to specific topics, then you can certainly do that and scroll through the whole playlist that we have covering all our weekly chats, categorized into a nice, neat and tidy little bundled playlist for you. So I'll have the replay of this one posted up within the next 48 hours. And in the meantime, if you do have any questions or concerns, or you want to elaborate on anything that was discussed, feel free to reach out to me. Email me, leeh@leehayward.com, or feel free to book in for a strategy session call where we can do a fitness and nutrition audit on you, your program, what you're currently doing, and see if we can brainstorm an action plan that's right for you. So if you need some help, feel free to ask for it, right? Be the squeaky wheel that needs the grease. If you want help, ask for it. And in the meantime, have yourself a great weekend and have yourself a great Mother's Day. And I will talk to you next Friday, same time, same place. Over and out.